Welcome to Things You Don't Know. In this episode, we're going to discuss and examine bodily secretions. yeah, yeah. I know only physicians are supposed to discuss bodily secretions. Yeah. Everyone else is supposed to keep these matters private. Well, this won't be the first or the last time we go outside the norm. So let's get right into the whole earwax thing.
Okay, Dr. Weaver. Earwax, also known by the medical term cerumen, is a waxy substance secreted in the ear canals of humans and other mammals. What surprised me is that earwax could be many colors, including brown, orange, red, gray, and yellowish. Earwax function is to protect the skin of the human ear canal. It assists in cleaning and lubrication, and protects against bacteria, fungi, particulate matter, including dirt and water. According to the Journal of ENT Physicians, major components of earwax include cerumen, produced by a type of modified sweat gland, and sebum, an oily substance. Both components are made by glands located in the outer ear canal. Chemical composition of earwax includes many things: long-chain fatty acids, saturated and unsaturated, alcohols, squalane, and cholesterol. Earwax also contains dead skin cells and human hair.
Yeah. There are two genetically determined types of earwax: the wet type, which is the dominant one, and the dry type, which is recessive. The distinction is caused by a single base change in the quote ATP binding cassette C11 gene. Uh, Okay. Dry type individuals are homozygous for adenine, whereas wet type requires at least one guanine. That's just genetic stuff, whatever. Dry earwax is gray, tan, brittle, and about 20% lipid. It has a smaller concentration of lipid and pigment granules than wet earwax. Wet earwax is light brown or dark brown. There's a variety of colors we already mentioned, and is about 50% lipid. Wet type earwax is is associated with armpit odor, which is increased by sweat production. I just think that's hilarious.
It really is.
Yeah, that your cerumen in your ear can smell like your armpit. Okay, and it's true. Now, some East Asians, including Yamato Japanese, Southeast Asians, and some Native Americans, including Inuit, are more likely to have the dry type of earwax, gray and flaky. At the same time, Africans, Europeans, and other East Asians are more likely to have wet type earwax, the honey brown, dark orange to dark brown, da da da, and moist. 30 to 50% of South Asians, Central Asians, and Pacific Islanders have the dry type of cerumen.
The lubrication provided by cerumen prevents drying of the skin within the ear canal. The high lipid content of the sebum produced by the sebaceous glands causes the cerumen to work like lubrication. In wet type cerumen, as we've said, these lipids include cholesterol, scaline, and many long-chain fatty acids and alcohols. While studies conducted until the 1960s found little evidence supporting antibacterial activity for cerumen, more recent studies have found that cerumen has a bactericidal effect on some strains of bacteria. Cerumen has been found to reduce the viability of a wide range of bacteria, including Haemophilus influenza and Staphylococcus aureus, as well as many variants of E. coli, sometimes by as much as 99%. Human cerumen also significantly inhibited the growth of two fungi commonly present in otomycosis. These antimicrobial properties are due principally to the presence of saturated fatty acid, lysozyme, and especially to the slight acidity of cerumen. The pH level is typically found at around 6.1 in average individuals. Conversely, other research has found that cerumen can support microbial growth, and some cerumen samples were found to have high bacterial counts.
Yeah, so rumen buildup and improper attempts to remove it can pose very significant health risks. Let's look at the problems with buildup first. If there's a significant buildup of cerumen, often referred to as an impaction, there can be many complications, including dizziness, vomiting, confusion, hearing loss, usually temporarily, thankfully, itchiness, social withdrawal, poor work function, and even paranoia. I had a patient who came in telling me he thought he was losing his mind and that it felt like some kind of demon was humming in his head, humming in his head. After an intensive diagnostic assessment interview, I hit upon the possibility that his problems could be related to hearing loss rather than the psychological issues. I asked him if I could look at his ear, and he said, okay, with a quizzical look. I looked in that ear and I saw a whole bunch of cerumen. Now, since this was I was working at a medical clinic at the time. I got on the horn and got one of the physicians to come check this out, and the physician says, "Hey, yes, that's very bad impaction. We need to take care of it." And so it was taken care of that day. And hey, the patient's symptoms cleared within days of that happening. And he was a very grateful guy. Before we discuss cerumen removal, let's review its purpose one more time. Cerumen protects the interior of the ear and hearing by so doing, by trapping dirt, dust, and sometimes insects to some extent. By the way, mammals, all mammals, have cerumen in their ears and are subject to the same things humans are in terms of the positive and negative effects of cerumen. One of the bigger things that cerumen does is lubricate and refreshes the tissue inside the ear. Now, that's important because dry skin is more permeable to bacterias and other things that you don't want to have going on. It penetrates the skin, in other words, it gets in there. The cerumen actually, by lubricating and refreshing the tissue, has a preventative effect there. And then as it goes by, as it's coming out, which we'll talk about in a minute, it can also remove some of that bacteria and bad stuff. So it is very important. Now, any of you who are cat owners, yeah, I'm a cat owner. Um, so it is my predilection to relate that. But cats have very excellent hearing. But if you notice that your cat is not responding to you, or they're rubbing their ears a lot, they could have some cerumen buildup. If your cat will let you look in there, if you see just a blob of cerumen, then you probably should take them to the vet and let the vet remove that earwax.
That's another example of how the body, whether humans or felines, is truly amazing. The natural way in which the ear cleans itself is very intriguing. The natural cleaning of the ear canal occurs as a result of the conveyor belt process epithelial migration aided by movement in the jaw. Cells formed in the center of the tympanic membrane move to the walls of the ear canal and then toward the entrance of the ear canal. Cerumen in the ear canal is also then carried onwards, taking with it particulate matter that may have gathered in the canal. Jaw movement dislodges debris from the walls of the ear canal to assist in this process.
It's really it's fascinating, as you pointed out, Dr. Deneen. So what happens here? Like and you may notice this if you have some cerumen buildup and you're getting some of the other signs like decline in your hearing ability and itchiness, maybe pain or whatever. You'll find that you want to yawn more. Okay, what does yawning do? Well, it puts your jaw in a different kind of position. It actually moves the jaw down in the back of the jaw as well as in the front of the jaw, which puts pressure on the eustachian tubes, but it also squeezes and manipulates that canal, which acts sort of like your bowels do, kind of peristaltic. That means in a flowing manner, and it moves that cerumen out. Very, very, very interesting to talk about that for a while. But anyhow, something that I do find disconcerting is that while a number of methods of earwax removal may be effective, their comparative methods have not and merits have not been determined, which just seems a bit odd to me. The public likes to think that medicine is a science based on facts. However, in large part because living creatures are not machines and therefore have idiosyncratic differences, a larger part of medicine is based on art and experience of the practitioner. A number of softeners are effective. However, if this is not sufficient, the most common method of cerumen removal is syringing with a solution such as warm water or peroxide, hydrogen peroxide. A curette method is more likely to be used by audiologists and ENT physicians when the ear canal is partially occluded, that means blocked, and the material is not adhering to the side to the skin in the ear canal, but due to the high skill level needed to not damage the eardrum, this technique is limited and should not be done by anyone but a skilled professional. One of the ways that people do things for their ears is they stick a cotton swab, a Q-tip, in their ear. Okay. That is a bad idea because what happens is that Q-tip rams and compacts the earwax further down into the ear canal. And they only remove a small portion of the top layer of wax that happens to adhere to the fibers of the swab. Now, they do have a new kind of swab that is in the form of a kind of a screw or that sort of shape. That can be like screwed into the ear and then pulled out, and that will remove more. But remember, cotton absorbs oil. Oil is necessary for the ear canal to be safe and secure. So you run into a problem with that if you're using Q-tips or whatever all the time. It's a bad idea.
Best to stay away from that then. I found there are many topical preparations for the removal of earwax, and while they may be better than no treatment at all, there simply have not been enough studies to draw conclusions or to specify which solutions are the best to use. We do know that using these agents, such as glycerin or hydrogen peroxide, 3 times daily for 3 to 5 days prior to other means of cerumen extraction does have demonstrable benefits.
Yeah, well, another technique, microsuction, What that involves is the use of a vacuum suction probe to break up and extract impacted cerumen. Microsuction can be preferred over other methods as it avoids the presence of moisture in the ear. It's also often faster than irrigation and is performed with direct vision of the earwax being removed. So, what happens? Typically, a camera with lights and a guide hole is utilized, with a long metal vacuum tube being inserted into the guide hole. The practitioner is enabled to see inside the ear and remove earwax under pressure. Potential adverse effects include dizziness, temporary tinnitus, that's that ringing in the ear, or also another type of tinnitus is like my patient who had the blah, 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 blah going on, and reduced hearing uh, due to volume of the pump and the proximity of the vacuum probe to the eardrum. The frequency of these are reduced where the cerumen is softened in the 5 days preceding the lubrication, preceding the microsuction. In general, microsuction is well tolerated and even preferred by some patients. I'm not sure I would like that though.
I don't think I would either. I'll stick with irrigation if I have any say in it. Once the cerumen has been softened, it may be removed from the ear canal by irrigation. The evidence on this practice is somewhat ambiguous. If a patient has a perforated eardrum, syringing can force infections into the middle ear, and residual water can cause an infection in the outer ear. This may be effectively accomplished with a spray-type ear washer commonly used in medical setting or even at home with a bulb syringe. The irrigation solution flows out of the canal along its floor, taking the wax and the debris with it. The solution used to irrigate the ear canal is usually warm water, sometimes normal saline, a sodium bicarbonate solution, peroxide and glycerin, or a solution of water and vinegar to help prevent secondary infection. Affected people generally prefer the irrigation solution to be warm to their body temperature, as dizziness is a common side effect of ear washing or syringing with fluids that are either colder or warmer than body temperature.
Another method, earwax can be removed with an ear pick or curette, which physically dislodges the earwax and scoops it out of the ear canal. In the West, use of ear picks is usually only done by health professionals. Please stick with that. It is dangerous. Curetting earwax using an ear pick was common in ancient Europe and is still practiced in East Asia. Since the earwax of most Asians is of the dry type, it is extremely easily removed by lightly scraping with an ear pick as it simply falls out in large pieces or dry flakes. It is generally advised not to use Q-tips, cotton swabs. Okay, we've already discussed this, as doing so will likely push the wax further down the ear canal and, if used carelessly, can perforate the eardrum. Many people have experienced that, and the pain is not something you really want to have. Abrasion of the ear canal, particularly after water has entered from swimming or bathing, can lead to ear infection. Also, the cotton swab head may fall off. Yeah, and become lodged in the ear canal. Therefore, cotton swabs should be used only to clean the external ear. Another method, this is an alternative method, alternative medicine method, highly dangerous. It's called ear candling. It's dangerous. Can't say that enough. Ineffective and counterproductive. This alternate medicine practice involves lighting a hollow candle, lighting it, and placing the unlit in the ear canal. Advocates say that the dark residue appearing on the candle after the procedure consists of extracted earwax. But studies, real science studies, show that the same dark residue is left regardless of whether the candle is inserted to the ear or not, as the residue derived from the candle itself and not from the ear. So it actually puts stuff in. Bad idea. The American Academy of ENT states that ear candles are not a safe option for removing earwax, and no controlled studies or scientific evidence support the use for earwax removal. Survey responses from medical specialists in the UK reported ear injuries, including burns. You got a lit candle in your ear? Come on. Ear canal occlusions and eardrum perforations and secondary ear canal infections with temporary hearing loss from ear candling. Just don't do it. The Food and Drug Administration has taken several regulatory actions against the sale and distribution of ear candles since 1996. Took them way too long to do that, by the way, folks, including seizing ear candle products and ordering injunctions. And ear candles are now marked as providing no health benefit. I think they should also include provide health risks. The prevalence of impacted earwax is different across the world. In the UK, 2 to 6% have cerumen that is impacted. In the good old US of A, 3.6% of ER visits caused by ear issues were due to impacted cerumen. In Brazil, they are the top dog in this. 8.4 to 13.7% have impacted earwax. Huge.
There's a long history of interest in earwax throughout the history of medicine. In the first century, Alois Celsius and de Messina described earwax removal in a very bizarre way. When a man is becoming dull of hearing, which happened most often after prolonged headaches, in the first place, the ear itself should be inspected, for there will be found either a crust such as comes upon the surface of ulcerations, consecrations of wax. If a crust, oh, this is awful, hot oil is poured in, or verdigris mixed with honey or leek juice, or a little soda and honey wine. And when the crust has been separated from the ulceration, the ear is irrigated with tepid water to make it easier for the crust now disengaged to be withdrawn by the ear scoop. If it is wax and if it is soft, it can be extracted in the same way by the ear scoop, but if hard, vinegar containing a little soda is introduced, and when the wax is softened, the ear is washed out and cleared as above. Further, the ear should be syringed with castoreum mixed with vinegar and laurel oil, the juice of the young radish rind, or with cucumber juice mixed with crushed rose leaves. The dropping in of the juice of unripe grapes mixed with rose oil is also fairly efficacious against deafness. What bizarre ideas we had at one time.
Actually, they're not very far from modern practice, which is the really freaky thing. Okay, let's look at some other things just real briefly. Earwax has been used in a whole lot of different ways. Yeah, used. In medieval Europe, earwax and other substances, such as urine, were used to prepare pigments used by scribes to illustrate illuminated manuscripts. Pliny the Elder, in his Natural History, wrote that earwax, when applied topically, cured bites from animals such as scorpions and serpents, as well as humans. It was said to work best when taken from the ears of the wounded person themselves. Early American lip balms may have been based on earwax. This just kills me. The 1832 edition of the American Frugal Housewife said that nothing was better than earwax to prevent the painful effects resulting from a wound by a nail or a skewer, and also recommended earwax as a remedy for cracked lips. I'm not sure that I want to put earwax on my lips. I just don't, something about
I
that.
wouldn't want that either. I'd settle for chapstick.
Yeah, I think so. Anyhow, the last one I'll mention is that waxed thread is something that seamstresses use to keep the thread from fraying. Now, before that was commonly available, a seamstress would use their own earwax to stop the cut ends of threads from fraying. Oy vey.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've learned more about earwax than I thought possible. As with so many of our other podcasts, check out our toothpaste and others like that concerning household products. We take a very ordinary thing and explore it in great depth. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope if you'll give us a like and comment and join the podcast if you haven't already. There are many wonderful things coming up.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining us today. Listen, while you're thinking about it, because I'm going to make you think about it, because I'm going to mention it, give us a like. Click it. It just takes a second. And hey, if you have comments, if you have suggestions for other things you'd like to see us delve into, please do. Something that we should mention that is coming up, a couple of goodies. We're going to do another lighter one on scissors. We're going to do some serious things, though. I wonder how many of you know the impact that fascism, uh, especially Nazi fascism, has had. And folks, it's still around today. We're going to take a look at it. You should tune in for that one. Dr. Deneen has some really hard hitting historical information and historically informative podcasts coming up, which I'm kind of excited about. He does a really wonderful job with that stuff, folks. You should listen. Anyhow,
I thank you for that, Dr. Weaver. I'm flattered, but I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
hey, yeah, listen, and we are thrilled for you folks that are listening to be a part of this, and you are. Thanks. Catch you later. Bye bye.
Bye for now.